Alright, so let's talk about the strange features and quirks, and cool features too, of this 84 Cadillac Seville. First on the exterior is this lock cylinder, which is part of the illuminated entry system and actually illuminates. You can't really see it here in the daytime, but trust me, when you come up to the car and you push this button, this lock cylinder illuminates and you can then see to put your key in. Obviously no remote keyless entry system in this car. Very handy. The earlier 76 to 9 Sevilles had a little light on the underside of this door handle that would shine on the lock as opposed to the lock cylinder itself being illuminated. But I think that's a great feature of these. Second are these fiber optic lamp monitors. So this allows you to monitor your turn signal, your headlight, and your bright light. The turn signal is amber, the headlight is white, the bright light is blue at night. So you can see that they're all working. And you have not only the lamp monitors here on the driver and passenger side for the front lights, but you also have on the interior the lamp monitors for the trunk. I shouldn't say for the trunk, but for the rear lights, which are that little thing in the middle above the rear window there. You can see it in your rear view mirror when you step on the brakes. So you can make sure that all your lights are working. Pretty handy. Third, you have these great big cornering lights on the side here that help illuminate obviously the corner when you're going around a corner. But the interesting thing about these is that they'll stay on. This car does have automatic headlamp turn on, turn off called Twilight Sentinel. I'm just going to manually turn them on right now. And if I put the turn signal on left, you see the cornering light is on. So if you have this such that the automatic headlamps are set to go off after about 60 seconds and you put the right or left turn signal on, the cornering light will stay illuminated for that time period as well. I think that's kind of interesting. Next is that bell feature. Yes, that is a real bell, both for the key in the ignition and the headlamps on. That's a different chime. So you can hear this is 2 rapid chimes of the bell. That means your headlamps are on. And the sound is a little bit different in the event that you have the key in the ignition. I'll put the key in here and you can hear what that sounds like. Just a kind of a steady bong. So it is different. This also leads to the next quirk. When you have the key in the ignition like this, the stop engine temperature light illuminates. Well, the engine is stopped. I have no idea why they would do that. Watch, if I take the key out, it goes off. And Cadillac did that for years, back into the 70s. I have no idea why. It makes no sense. The engine isn't overheating and the engine is stopped. Why would you have that light illuminate? But they did. Next on the door panel here is the door lock. This is the same door handle and overall faceplate that was used on many different GM cars of the era, most particularly the A bodies. But when you lock the doors in this car, on every other GM car, you lock it and the cylinder goes, this plunger goes back this way. And this car goes forward. You notice that it obviously was strange because they print on there that that's lock. So why that is, I don't know, but it is that way. Next on the interior, this. These are caps that are on either side of the instrument panel. And in the factory, they had different lengths of these. And the purpose was to ensure that you closed up the gap to the door here, that it wasn't too big or too small. But I thought a very ingenious feature to make sure that everything fits correctly. You just have different size caps here. And the customer doesn't know that it's a different size cap or length. This one's actually shorter. Hard to tell, but then the one on the passenger side. Car does have Twilight Sentinel, as I mentioned. It'll automatically turn on your headlights. You just twist this. You can change the delay for how long it'll keep them on after you shut the key off. They also did have Guidematic headlamp, automatic headlamp dimming. They would have a sensor in the front that would dim the bright lights automatically for you. That was an option. This car doesn't have it. It would be on this control as well. Another is this cool trumpet horn, this 4-note trumpet horn, which I hesitate, but it's very, very loud. I think it's the loudest horn on any car I've ever seen. It's just great at stoplights. Next feature that's interesting is this flat floor with a one-piece floor mat, because this car is front-wheel drive. It does have torsion bar front suspension, coil spring rear with air shocks in the back. Rides really nicely, but there is no hump, just like the Tornados and the Eldorados. 1980 was the first year for the Seville being front-wheel drive, as well as the Riviera. Next, you have GM Bose Symphony sound. Yes, this car has a Bose radio in it. And you can see there it says Delco Bose. GM was starting their partnership with Bose pretty early on in these years. I think the first year for this was 1983. And it is a good sounding stereo. It doesn't have much bass to it, but you also get these huge speakers in the rear. And it does sound pretty good, especially for the era. Next, let me close the door so that the dinging doesn't keep continuing. I think what's really interesting about these cars is that you've got the vacuum fluorescent green here, gauges, and you have orange over here. It's kind of incongruent. It doesn't look quite right, but that is how these were done. You can also toggle the display between miles per hour and kilometers per hour by switching this little thing here. Very handy if you got to go into Canada. Next to the mirror controls. So this looks like it's a normal joystick mirror control, but this is a power mirror, and you can see it even says power control on it. It's hard to see at the top left, but that's what it says. But it operates. You move the mirror and you can see. Same with this. This is also a joystick, but it's electronic to move that mirror over there. So, kind of strange, but that's how it operates. Next, you have a really important feature of these, which is diagnostic mode. Cadillacs from, I believe, 1980 to the mid-90s had this diagnostic mode, where you generally push the off and warmer buttons on the climate control display. And you can see now the service now and the service soon light come on. That's another quirk on its own. Most cars there just say service soon, but this one says service now as well. I guess that's the more urgent things. But code 52 just means that it's an ECM reset, I believe. And then you'll get to this 0.7.0. That means you got to pick where you want to go in the menu system. If you hit this reset button, this now goes into the data display of the various parameters. And this parameter number 1 is throttle position in degrees. So this is 8 degrees. If I step on the accelerator now, you can see that it's going up as I depress the accelerator pedal. This low light, the lighting and the things that illuminate also signify different things. So if I take my foot off the accelerator, you'll see this low light will illuminate. That's the closed throttle switch telling you that it's working. And I don't recall all these offhand, but I think P4 is engine temperature in degrees Celsius. I think P2, P just meaning the parameter 2. Oh, I have to hit this. This is the next one, number 2 is barometric pressure, I believe. Yeah, it is atmospheric pressure. Then 4 is engine temperature in degrees Celsius. So this engine's cold. It's only 28 degrees Celsius. About 80 degrees-ish. And then parameter 1.1 is engine RPMs, but it can only display up to 1909 RPMs because there isn't another segment to illuminate on the climate control panel. So obviously it's 0. The car is shut off right now. But this is really handy. And then I think you just hit auto or off, and it goes back to normal. Maybe it's off. There we go. So then the lights are off and you're back to normal. Very, very handy for diagnosing things. So I think there's 11 different parameters you can go through. Some of these cars, like the later ones where they have the multi-port or sequential port injection, you can actually shut off individual injectors to see which is dripping. And if you have a Cadillac with a 4.5 or 4.9 liter V8 engine that doesn't like to come to a stop and accelerates, automatically once you hit about 2 miles an hour. I can have a fix for you. So let me know in the comments if you have that, and it uses this onboard diagnostic panel. Next interesting feature is these shut off the vents. If you want to shut them off, it's kind of a nice way of doing it, very elegant. Let's go under hood now and talk about some of the strange things under hood. With this lovely 4.1 liter V8 engine, you can denote my sarcasm. It's actually reliable, it's fine. But this car has a vacuum pump, an external vacuum pump. This thing has so many accessories that it needs its own vacuum pump to create vacuum because the engine doesn't create enough on its own. This would continue on into the C and H bodies. So if you have a C or H body car, which is the DeVille, the little DeVille that came out in 1985, there's actually an electric vacuum pump in the driver's side fender. So when you turn the key on, you'll hear this buzzing. That's what it is. It's the vacuum pump in the driver's side fender, and of course they get progressively noisier over time. Also interesting thing is Cadillac always put their air conditioning, I shouldn't say always, but a lot of the time in the middle of the car, which is quite good because this has some vibrations that it lets off, and putting it in the middle of the V minimizes those. Other divisions would have them off to one of the side. Cadillac was almost always in the center for many, many years. Next on the exterior here is this. In earlier model years, they had this big chrome cap on the hood to disguise that it was the same hood as on the Eldorado. And after some time, they determined that that wasn't needed. The car looks so different. But most people don't know that these have the same hood on them. And we'll finish up with the trunk because these do have a interesting feature of the trunk. I've got to go get the keys for that. Beautiful emblem back here, by the way. And that is that the hinges are carpeted. Yes, not only is the bottom or the underside of the trunk carpeted, but the hinges are carpeted. That's just crazy to me. I have never seen that on another car before or since, aside from these Cadillacs. But there it is, and it's a big trunk. It actually holds a lot of stuff, in spite of it looking from the outside to be a diminutive trunk. So I think that is about it for the interesting features and quirks of this car. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching this video on the strange features, quirks, and I guess cool features too of the '84 Cadillac Seville. If you liked it, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the video thumbnails at bottom left and right for some suggestions for you. Thanks again for watching.